Artmin. So today what I'm going to show you is how to put resin on top of an art piece. And specifically this is an alcohol ink that's on Ampersand's Claybord. So these turn out really fantastic. They're a really nice rigid surface for putting resin on top of, and the resin gives this extra saturated, beautiful jewel tone look. So let's take a look at how to work with resin. First things first, you want to set your whole station up with everything you could possibly need before you pour your resin. So I have started by taping the edges of my panel so that if any drips go over the side, after it starts to tack up, I can pull this off and there'll be a clean edge. So this is one way to have a nice edge to it. Also, you want to elevate your piece from wherever you're putting this. So I'm going to be having it on this table. So I have 3 caps that are of equal size, so I'm not out of balance. And I put those down kind of close together so that they're on the interior and not the exterior corners of my piece. This way, if any resin does drip down and around the sides, it won't glue those to my piece. So it's not actually sitting on the table, it's elevated a little bit to make sure that I don't resin my artwork to my table. I also have some extra little elevators off to the side because once this is finished, I'm going to want to put a cap over it. So I'm going to lay this board over top, and this is going to keep my piece from getting any dust particles in it while the resin is curing. That's important. So if you've got a box that's a little bigger than the piece of your artwork, or something like cups that you can put around, and then a board that you can put over, anything that you can just kind of protect your piece from dust is best. So I have the under elevation, I have something to protect the top. I also want to make sure my surface is level. So this is where I'm going to be putting my piece while it cures. And so I'm going to put a little level on top of there, and bingo, I'm in the right area, I'm right in the middle. I want this to be level because resin self-levels. And if this is tilted a little bit, all of the resin will pour off to the side, leaving a thin coat on one side and a thick coat on the other. So make sure your surface is level where you're going to be curing your piece. Once you've mixed your resin together and you've poured it on, you're probably going to have a few little bubbles. So have some tools to take care of that. In a pinch on small pieces, things like a toothpick or a straw where you blow on it will get you by just fine. A larger piece like this, or even bigger, will require something like a torch. So this is just a little butane torch that I picked up at a hardware store. Super easy to use, don't be afraid of the torch. It's the most effective at getting all these bubbles out. As far as measuring tools go, this is a 1-to-1 ratio resin. Equal parts of both bottles go in together to make your resin. So I like these cups that have ridges on them because I can pour to a specific ridge and have an equal measurement in both cups. So once you get all your supplies together, let's pour some resin out and make it happen. ArtResin is fantastic for artwork in particular because they've gone the extra mile to put UV stabilizers and light stabilizers in there. All resin's yellow. These have the extra stuff in there to keep it clear. So it's not going to yellow over time, and that's important for artwork. So now I have my 2 cups. These are equally measured. I'm going to pour 1 cup into the other. And once it gets low, I'm going to use a popsicle stick to kind of scrape the sides of this cup and get it all in there. If you don't pour the entirety of this cup into the other one, you won't have an equal measurement. Okay, empty cup, full cup. Once you've got the 2 parts together, you want to stir these for about 3 minutes. This 3-minute stir is so important. In fact, the most important part of mixing your resin. So make sure that you run at a steady pace and that you're scraping the sides and across the bottom of your cup. Now, if you go crazy with the mixing, you will mix more bubbles into here, but we know how to get rid of those bubbles. So don't mix so slow that you don't get your two parts equally together. I like to set a little timer just so that I know that I'm mixing for a full 3 minutes. Okay, my resin is all mixed up. I'm going to pour it evenly in the center and just kind of let it float out. Remember, this is self-leveling. That means if you have a piece like this and it doesn't go all the way to the edges, it will. So this beautiful little circle of resin, I need to spread out, and you can do that with various things. If you have a trowel or an old credit card, just make sure that you're not using something that's going to put things that you don't want in your resin. So I would avoid using things like a big chunk of cardboard because they have little pieces of cardboard that'll come out. Here I'm just using the side of a popsicle stick. These are a little difficult to hold, but have a good straight edge to them. So it's pretty easy to pull the resin around. Now, once you have your area covered, you are working with a clear medium. So it may look like everything is covered, but it will be hard to tell unless you look from the sides. Look at every angle and make sure that you have completely coated your piece with resin. It's time to get rid of bubbles. This is a larger piece, so I will be using a torch. This is filled up with butane, super easy to use. I turn my little air valve to halfway, pull the safety down, and trigger on. I don't want to burn the piece, I just want to run over it, and you can see the bubbles pop immediately when you run this over. Awesome. Now, while I was doing that, I actually noticed a spot that I didn't fully get covered. So I'm going to cover that now. The torch is not curing the resin in any way. It just gets those bubbles out. Cool. Now, if you're down to just 1 or 2 bubbles, a simple little toothpick, boop, can do the trick. You can also use a straw. Now I'm going to cover it. So now that my piece is covered, this is going to sit. It needs to sit for at least 24 hours before you really kind of handle it. It'll be a hard cure at 24 hours and a full cure at 72 hours. So this is a wait and see kind of deal. Once you are finished with a piece though, these things turn out great. Ceramic tiles are a fantastic thing to put resin over. After you've done alcohol ink, putting resin over a ceramic tile makes it so that you could use this actually as a coaster, a trivet, a backsplash, anything that you wanted to with these guys. This is actually a foil piece that has some dimension to it that I put ArtResin over. Such a high gloss finish, really brings out the colors in this. Super fun. And this is another ampersand panel that I put resin on. Again, it really just sweetens the colors up and really protects those fragile alcohol inks from flaking off and gives them just a sweet cherry look. So I hope you get a chance to try out some ArtResin on your artworks, whether it's alcohol ink or any type of paint.